scientist at Atlassian in our Teamwork Lab. And I'll also be your moderator for this panel. So I hope everyone is having a good conference so far and ready to hear from three amazing organizations here about AI-driven change. I'm really thrilled to be on stage with these organizations to discuss how they're managing driving AI adoption at their organizations. They'll share how they've laid out the foundations for successful AI transformation, managed change in their organizations, and creating lasting behavioral change with Rovo. But first, here's a quick disclaimer slide, so I'll give you a few moments to read that over. So let me set the stage here a bit. Now, AI is undeniably driving the future of work. It's massively changing how work gets done, from automation to collaboration. But leading an organization into an AI world isn't necessarily easy, and many companies have struggled with driving effective AI adoption. So here at Atlassian, we decided to study what makes teams most successful in driving AI change. And in fact, we studied 12,000 knowledge workers and 180 Fortune 1000 execs to understand this challenge. One theme that stood out is strong knowledge management, and an AI-literate workforce sets the stage for successful transformation. Laying those foundations for AI are what helps people use AI to find information, find data, and find context. And you'll hear plenty about that from our panelists today as well. Another theme focuses on turning strategy into action, empowering teams with hands-on experience, support, and opportunities to learn together. Leveraging AI that understands and supports collaborative work is key to unlocking real value for teams, and you'll hear about some great initiatives from our panelists in that realm as well. All right. We have some awesome panelists here today. I'll turn it over to you for a brief introduction. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you could, please just introduce yourself, your company, and share a bit about your journey with Atlassian to this point. Why don't we start with you, Paul?
Yeah. Hi, my name's Paul. I work for the Education Outcomes Fund, which is a hosted fund under UNICEF, which deals with innovative financing, where we pay for results, or we sponsor results in education and skills-based projects. And we have, within the next 5 years, we have 6 big projects which are going to implement in 6 program countries, affecting 500,000 children and improving education and opportunities. And we, as part of this project, we deal with a lot of data, we have evaluation data, and Atlassian has been a great partner and sponsor of EOF in our journey so far today. So that is our journey with Atlassian, and I'm very privileged and pleased to be here talking about the work that we're doing and we've done with Atlassian. On a personal level, I started my career in finance. I started as a trader and then worked in quantitative trading and built one of the first systematic trading businesses at JP Morgan, which I ran for 10 years. And then did a similar role where I ran European systematic trading at Jefferies, a US investment bank. So a few years ago, I jumped ship and joined a non-for-profit sector, joining the Education Outcome Fund, and I'm now sort of more popular at parties because I'm investment banking and trying to use the skills and experience before in a different context. So yeah, great to be here today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks, Paul. Andre.
So I'm Andre Doch, and I'm from Liberty, which is a company that does innovative financing in a much more traditional area, which is consumer financing, debt collection, corporate factoring, and things like that. And so we're a payments company in Europe, in DACH, Nordics, and the Benelux. And we were a very, very early customer of Atlassian Intelligence. Before there was even a Rovo, very early on we understood that with the way that our company works, which is working with a lot of our merchants and representing a lot of our merchants and dealing with customers, dealing with environments where our people have to work to very specific guidelines that are set up by our customers. We had massive knowledge bases, and Atlassian Intelligence was something that allowed our employees to get very quick answers to their questions out of a gigantic Confluence space. So we were early customers and early appreciators of what we call knowledge management.
Love that. Thank you. All right, David.
I'm David Moreno. I have been working for Santander UK for the last 9 years, and previously I was working for Santander Spain for another 4 or 5 years until I moved into the UK. In our case, we started our journey with the Atlassian tools with GitHub and Confluence more than 8 years ago. So I think we have followed all the steps. No? We started with server, then we moved or migrated to data center, and less than 2 years ago we moved into cloud. So as you can imagine, the amount of conference spaces, pages, Jira project that now will be in spaces, now has been communicated today that they are going to change the name. And one of the most common problems that we had is how to identify or how to find the correct information, mainly in Confluence, with all the information on that, and is where Rovo has changed the picture, and it's a game changer for us.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we're gonna kind of dive a little deeper into each organization, and we'll start, Andre, with you at Riverty. And some of you may recognize Andre, by the way, because his face is on a poster out in the hall just there. So keep an eye out for that after this. So Andre, can you share how Rovo is being used at Riverty currently, and what are some of the most impactful ways it's made a difference since you really started integrating it into your workflows?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the absolute killer use case that was immediately obvious and immediately started delivering value to us was surfacing information out of our knowledge base. And we just had recently, so Riverty is part of the Bertelsmann Group, and as part of the Bertelsmann Group, we had a big company event with some Atlassian Rovo engineers actually attending as well, where we were working on some use cases that were requested by our CIOs and CTOs from across the company, from across Bertelsmann, and we managed to hack together some proofs of concepts, and that's already, since then, since a few weeks ago, that's already resulted in some very actionable. So that would result in very actionable Rovo agents and use cases already deployed across the company. A lot of it has been about taking unstructured data and turning it into structured data. That's something that's already been also described in some of the panels that I've seen today and some of the breakout sessions. So we also are very happy about assets now being part of Rovo. That's going to be massively relevant to us in the future. We are very big customers of assets, very big users of assets. We're using assets to build our CMDB across the company that is a single repository of truth of all information, all company knowledge. And now that's all going to be available in Rovo, and we're going to be able to surface that for all of our users. That's just going to be really useful. And so we found that as our head of Atlassian at Bertelsmann, for the big company, mentioned that we have found that there are some traps in Rovo that people want to use Rovo for, and AI for, but are maybe not as good an idea. So if you want to use Rovo to automatically generate your release notes at the end of a sprint, dump them into Confluence and never think of them again, then you're probably going down the wrong road, because documentation always has to be owned, it always has to have an author, and always has to have somebody responsible for it. But where Rovo really shines is delivering the knowledge that has been, the good quality knowledge that has been put into your knowledge base by someone at your company, delivering it to everybody who really needs to know about it, but maybe would have trouble finding it.
Yeah, I love this point about moving from unstructured data to structured data. That's fantastic. And you mentioned how Rovo draws on, a massive sort of context-rich knowledge base to provide those really tailored answers to employees about their specific situations that they're asking about. I'm wondering if you have any key steps or maybe guiding principles in building and maintaining that foundation.
Well, yeah, so the best way that we've seen to use AI, I mean, building your knowledge management, maintaining it is a task in itself. But what's been very important for us is that we use AI to discover the kinds of problems that people have based on historical data, and we use AI in the background to kind of streamline our workflows and to take the menial work that people have to do in their everyday life and just automate that away. I'm one of those people who has never been threatened by AI. I know that neither me nor anybody in my team is going to lose their job to AI. The worst thing that's ever going to happen is that we will wait a year or two to hire another person in our team because the things that make us good at our jobs are massively enhanced by AI, and it allows us to not spend our lives doing any of the boring stuff as well. So we've been using AI to focus on scaling, automation, and consistency, and we've taken it as our guiding principle that there are certain places where you don't need to sell AI, where AI is self-evidently useful. So how many people here are software developers? Right, software developers use AI in their work on an everyday basis. No software developer who's been using GitHub Copilot or anything like that needs to be convinced that it's useful. And so those are the experiences that we've been taking in. And then we've also been doing just a lot of talking to our stakeholders and intercepting all of the requests that have been coming in. So we've been doing a combination of broadcasting and intercepting. So we broadcast, we communicate with our stakeholders a lot, with the entire company. We tell them, hey, Rovo is available, there's these new functions available, you can do this now. Please come and talk to us, we will help you set it up, we will help you make it happen. And then because we're also the Atlassian admins, every time there's a request that says, hey, can you please give me an API token or open up this integration so that I can connect ChatGPT or another LLM to our Atlassian instance, our response to that is, tell me what you're trying to accomplish because I bet you that it's more efficient with Rovo. And it always is.
Love that. That's really good. All right, last question here. So at Atlassian, we think a lot about how to create a culture of experimentation with AI, right? Trying to get folks to play and explore. And our research shows that that's really effective in driving AI adoption and AI ROI. And I know you're doing something similar at Riverty to great success, and so I'm wondering if you could just explain that approach a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's something that grew out of the fact that we've been very lucky to build a very good team with Atlassian that we're doing with the Atlassian in-house team. We've got a lot of very good Atlassian in-house competence, and we are always doing things with our platform, with the Atlassian platform, that is maybe a little bit non-standard. We are always very happy to take use cases that are not standard kind of cheery use cases of software development, let's say IT service management, things like that, and just to take everything that our business does, any kind of business process, any kind of business logic, any kind of operational team, all kinds of things and just put them on the Atlassian platform. And we've been doing the same with Rovo and enhancing all of those features with Rovo as well. And as I've mentioned, we're building our central CMDB, which is not just a list of servers and laptops we have, but a list of everything in the company, people, teams, org structure, our customers, our vendors, the software we buy, our software components, application components, all that stuff. And it's all interconnected. It allows us to interconnect things and gain massive efficiency. And now we're looking forward to doing all of that, but with the multiplier of Rovo.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andre. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your experience.
And I've got some brain dates, and you can always find me and talk to me. I'm always happy to talk to people.
And on the poster outside as well. Okay. All right. Let's move on to Paul over at Education and Outcomes Fund. Thank you so much for being here. I want to talk first about how AI can really benefit the team, right? Not just the individual. So trying to kind of level up from the individual and scale that. And we see in our research that here at Atlassian, that's a great way to scale the impact of AI. And so Paul, I'm wondering how you use Rovo at EOF and specifically to improve team efficiency.
Great. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this because for us this has been a project, the integration of Rovo and the use of Atlassian tools where it's had almost instant impacts, which is very rare in projects I've worked with over the years, and it's impacted everyone at our organisation. So EOF, Education Outcome Fund, is a small organisation by nature, so the group our core team is between 40 and 50 people, and the idea is very much that's by design. We don't want to grow, we want to stay small, and then we want a number of children and a number of young people who are impacted by our programs to grow, and that's how it works best. So efficiency for us has an extra dimension in order to achieve that, and we're very dispersed. So we have people with very different skill sets, which are all around the globe. So we have people in 20 different countries, with 6 program countries where we have sort of hubs and concentration of people. And one of the ways in which we've used Rovo and we've used Atlassian tools is we have regular updates across the organisation because everyone's in all the different duty stations, different countries, will have updates either from on the ground or updates from government projects or updates from donors. And everyone's updating at different timing for different cadences. And we needed a way to tie all this together. And we had a previous method where we were using a document-based approach where everyone was kind of updating. You ended up at the end of every week with this really long doc that took like 30, 40 minutes for everyone to read, and perhaps you did a control F, or you might, people were a bit nervous about putting it through AI just because you weren't sure what was there. And then we moved over to putting these updates onto Confluence. And initially, just without the use of the Rovo, it had a huge impact because we had these regular updates coming through from people. People could use the AI functionality within Confluence to proofread what they'd written, so it took them less time. We had almost 100% completion rate because of the alerts that came through. Everyone interacted with it straight away. So you had all of these points where everyone's using it, you're getting the updates, people are quicker when they're filling it out. But for us, like the absolute kicker and the game changer we really weren't expecting was the usage of Rovo to then get people to interact with this. Because now you've got this huge, every week, this huge gathering of information, but you can say, Rovo, give me something I can read in 10 minutes, focus on these 3 areas which I want to make sure I don't miss, and everyone gets their own like personal on the day, like reading them on Monday morning. And I put a sort of estimate for how much time is saved, that this is super conservative in terms of this has been something which has kind of made people's Monday morning. Like they don't come in now and go, oh no, I've got to read this long document. They come in and go, oh good, I've got 15 minutes, I'll get myself a coffee and I'll read it. So yeah, for us, it's been really about efficiency and just making our lives better.
Great to hear. Yeah, and I love EOF's approach to rolling out Rovo because you talk about being a pretty widely distributed team as well. And I'm just wondering if you can share a bit about that rollout strategy and any unexpected challenges you might have faced there and how you've addressed them.
Yeah, thank you. So this one is an interesting one because I adopted a kind of what I call an Uber-style approach, where it was very obvious very quickly that this was going to be a better implementation we currently had. So we spec'd up the project, we built the Confluence and the reminders, we did a quick sort of introduction at all hands, and then that was our kind of rollout strategy. It's the sort of model where it is so much better workflow that you expect people to interact with it straight away. And my background from finance before was this kind of, it used to this environment where people, you would tell people what to do, people kind of did it, and you didn't really need so much of an implementation strategy. But within our system and within the UA type structures, it's more of a change management process. And we were interested, we did a bit of feedback, so we sent around the questionnaire and asked people how they were interacting with it. And the initial side of it was very positive because everyone found it easier to input. However, there was reticence with people using Rovo. So people were concerned about what they could ask or whether it was cheating to use AI. So not everyone was using it straight away. So we found that there were certain people who, and especially because our organisation is not a technology organisation, so people are sometimes reticent to use new technology. And what we did was then we started to actively implement training sessions and discussions, and we called them AI Insights, where we have once a month, we'll show people new tools and sort of dive into a practical sort of 20-minute session type details. So we moved from a kind of expecting people to use it because it was obviously better, to then realising that people weren't using it to its full potential, and we needed to be a bit more active in holding people's hand throughout the process.
Fascinating. Yeah. And as you look ahead into the future, right, I'm wondering about any next steps that you're planning to take to leverage AI at Rovo, generally. Are there specific new use cases or capabilities that you're particularly excited about?
So it's really interesting because I had plans before the keynote speech this morning, and then I listened to the keynote speech, and now suddenly the list of plans has kind of increased. But I think for us this is the first step. We were active last year as getting our quantitative environment, which is kind of an area which I spent a lot of time developing, where in one space. And this for us is the first step to get our qualitative data, like exactly as you said, the unstructured data sets moving into one space. So this will be the start of us then going from having the qualitative data in one space to interacting with other systems, and hearing the Databricks, a connector that's going to be integrated with us, is going to be massive because we do a lot of pricing modelling and impact-based modelling, and being able to look at what essentially is just our better qualitative data, these updates, tell us what's going wrong with programs, tell us what's going right. We can then create modelling infrastructure which leverages off these qualitative and quantitative pieces. So, that original plan to do that to a small amount, but listening about the further integration plans is super exciting for me. And just to finish on one angle really was we do these daily reports. So daily reports are qualitative-based reports as well as financial ones. But there's qualitative-based reports where we will write to the donors and tell them, give them an update on the programs. And these reports take program managers 2 weeks to do. They're really time-consuming exercises. And last week I was speaking to one of the program managers and showing them Rovo, showing them the new deep research feature. Mm-hmm. And I was like, by the way, we've onboarded all the previous updates. If you ask for a 10-page update on your program and all the key things, it's there. And it was like a mic drop moment. They were just like, you've just given me 2 weeks. Just say that obviously they'll proofread it and everything beforehand, but the time saving was huge. And that's one example, but I'm sure there'll be plenty more.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Paul. Appreciate you being here. Thanks. All right, David, Santander. All right, so, it kind of goes without saying Santander is a huge user base for Rovo, and you can see them on the screen, the numbers speak for themselves, and we also see steadily increasing AI usage, which is exciting. So I'm sure folks here are wondering how you've driven this level of adoption, and what has been the organizational impact of scaling Rovo to that level? And if there's any lessons you can share with folks, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that is very similar to what my colleagues have mentioned. And I'm going to start that, as I mentioned, we started with server, moved to data center, then to cloud, then AI capabilities were enabled, for example, for Confluence, where I can tell you that I was feeling the pain of the searches in Confluence that were not very good, and now with the AI capabilities, they improve a lot. And then we have Rovo. No? When Rovo was enabled publicly enabled, we had the opportunity to enable it in our entities because we have some enterprise owners and then we have the entities. I'm part of one of the entities. I'm the administrator of the Santander UK sites for Union Conference, and then we reviewed this internally with all the governance and paperwork that we had to complete, and we decided to enable it in July. No? Since then, obviously, we have been working on use cases with users. We have been scheduling sessions about training. So I can tell you that in the last one that we had with Atlassian, there were more than 2,000 users connected, which shows that they are keen to use Rovo, and really they would like to see what is the art of possible with Rovo. Apart from that, we are working on more things like we have created a champions group for Rovo, and we are going to have a small number of people, these champions, that they will receive some training, and we will follow the train-the-trainers model, so they can also extend the knowledge of Rovo apart from these sessions that we will have. So I think, in our opinion, as I say, Rovo is a game changer for us, and we would like to use it mainly for improving the productivity as well. That we have other tools available for us, but Rovo will help us also to save time on daily tasks that the users can use for delivering that probably is their focus.
Great. Yeah, it's a great journey that you mapped out there that Santander's been on. That's really cool to see it at a high level. So one of the insights stemming from our research on AI at Atlassian is around the importance of ensuring that Rovo has access to high quality organizational knowledge, right? We've mentioned that already on this panel. And so I'm curious, as organizations scale their use of AI-powered tools, what are some of those foundational practices, or maybe even shifts in mindset that become increasingly important so that teams can trust the information that they find?
Yeah, this is a good point, because with the amount of years that we have been creating documentation and projects, we realize that the information that we have stored is not accurate. No? And then the main thing on Rovo is rely on the searches that you would like to find some answers, and if the answers are not accurate, then Rovo is not going to be useful. Okay? And then it's a task that we never did before. Probably it was a mistake to ask the people to be accountable of updating their pages. No? What we have decided is, with the help of Atlassian Administrator Insights and Analytics, we have started to review all the conference spaces and pages that have not been or edited or viewed for a long period of time, and we are carrying all this information. For the rest, we are planning to include a control or a mechanism for including the statuses in the pages, where the owners are going to be accountable for updating their pages every maximum 6 months. This way we will be sure that the information that is appearing in the search of Rovo is or should be accurate. Other cases that we are finding is that when you search for some information, only as you are receiving answers from different spaces, it's totally different information. No? And if, for example, we have a monitoring team that is publishing official documentation regarding monitoring, rather than going to different spaces where similar information is appearing, we would like that the information that is appearing is coming from there, no? So they can have the latest information available and the correct information. So these are the type of things that we are working, because obviously the accuracy of the data is a must.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So as you look to the future, as you're looking ahead, how do you see Santander further leveraging AI and Rovo? Any new use cases that you're targeting specifically?
Well, in the keynotes today, again, as it happened with Paul, we realized that some of the things that we were thinking that this is needed, more insights, the Rovo skills that, for example, they have presented today. This will be something that I think it will help us to leveraging the use of Rovo. And obviously we have many use cases that we would like to implement. So far we are using it for enhancing a lot of documentation, release notes. We are using it, for example, for the transcription of the meetings, to summarize and also to create the epics in Jira based on all these conversations. We are not using Loom yet, but this is something that I have suggested. Why don't you include the Loom in the enterprise licenses? And that can be a good idea similar to what Atlassian have done with Rovo. But I think by linking all this information and also, for example, with the connectors. Connectors is something that we are exploring. We have information from sources that are, apart from Confluence, we have our Circle, we have any other sources that we would like to connect into them. We are keen to see how it's going to affect the searches by including these connectors, and if the information that we are going to receive from there is also accurate. No? And we also would like to be very careful with all this information, no? Because data protection obviously is a concern as well. We have been trying to make our users aware what type of information they must or must not include in Confluence or in Jira. And by adding these connectors is something that we need to review very carefully with security and the data protection team. So yeah, this is where we are.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, David. Thanks for being here. Okay. Well, Andrew?
Yeah, so while you were talking, while the others were talking as well, you asked us about some of the playful ways that we've been using Rovo. That reminded me, because our CSM, Smitty, who's in the audience today, told me about something that Atlassian does in-house and that we totally stole from you, which was our out-of-office desk. We now have we've had a JSM desk, where people can just fill out a form saying, I'm going out of office, from this date, I'll be back on this date, here's the person who's replacing me, and then that will propagate all of their approvals, all of their assigned tickets, and so on. And so, we created a robot that does this, but without having to fill out a form. If you send in an email to a special address saying, I'm sick, I'll be back next Friday. That's it, that was our test case. I'm sick, I'll be back next Friday. The bot that we built in literally like half a day will take the identity of the person sent the email, take the fact that they are sick and not on vacation and not on maternity leave, but specifically sick, then they will take the day on which they sent in the information and the last day when they will be out of office, who their manager is, and they will fill out our structured form and send all of that out to all of the automations that do all of those things. And the things that we can do now, further on, extend that with integration with assets and with the rest of the teamwork graph, are something else that we created, which was a callback bot. And that grew out of the idea that your users are never going to be happy talking to a bot. That's never going to be anybody's preferred way of interaction. They'll always want to talk to a human. But if our bot says, I promise you a human will see your request, but it's Sunday afternoon, and let's talk about your broken laptop now. Let me ask about your broken laptop. Now, that bot will not only be able to gather all of the information, and the bot knows what information they need from the person. No, which office are you in? Which floor? What's your desk number? They will also know, hey, I went in to assets and I looked up that your identity has this particular MacBook assigned to you. Is this actually the laptop that's broken? Cool. I already know based on your position, what kind of laptop you are entitled to get. And whether we have one in stock or not, all of that information will be ready for the agent on Monday morning when they come in, and the agent will also know, the human will also know whether you asked to be emailed back, phoned back, or for the human to come and see you at your desk. All of that stuff we did with Rovo, and it took half a day, most of that was discussing how the process should look like.
Yeah. Easy.
Thank you for sharing that. Fantastic. Great job. All right. Well, thank you so much. And as we wrap up here and prepare for some questions from all of you, if there are any, I want to share a couple of resources that can help you get started on driving AI adoption in your team. So first off, I recommend checking out Atlassian's latest AI Collaboration Index, which is fresh off the presses. We gathered data from 12,000 knowledge workers and 180 Fortune 1000 execs to find out what the best companies are doing to realize AI ROI. So that's the QR code on the left. And also check out the Atlassian playbook for some concrete, practical exercises and rituals that you can run with your teams starting today to drive adoption of AI. And a bunch of the folks that I've spoken with have loved the retros with Rovo play, which really up-levels your ability to run a retro by, helps you gather project insights, identify themes to improve for the next project, and a lot more. So check out those QR codes to dive into the index and the Atlassian playbook. And at this point, we can turn it over to any questions that the audience might have. And, I'll leave up this slide in case anyone wants to grab it. So, questions at this point for any of the panelists?
Maybe something with regards to the efficiency improvements. Typically, the question we get asked. With regards to the efficiency improvements, typically the question we get is how can you quantify those? Can we really measure what the amount of efficiency improvements is that we are getting? We know they are there, but how much?
So it's always very hard to quantify, as you said, but in our case, let's say one of the things that I was just talking to somebody today about this, when my team was doing our cloud migration, we had at least 5, basically 6 full-time employees working on Atlassian support and migration with the automation tools that we've built in the last 2 years, and Rovo is even extending that even further. We now have 2.5 full-time employees handling the same system and actually delivering a lot more complex work. So you can have a look at how many requests you've deflected and all that stuff, but the great quantifier is how fewer full-time employees you need to do the same job, and how many people you've not had to hire.
Yeah, I guess that's the objective measure, which is we're all searching for in terms of but our side, we've sort of focused on perhaps a more subjective one of doing Amelia's reward, so it's slightly easier for us to do, but focusing on doing these feedback forms which people fill out and say what the work they've been doing. To some extent, that helps us be able to identify the clever ways to use Rovo, the clever ways that people can use some of the technology, and then we then use that to then get more people to follow those processes, and then you create a form of estimation based on it, which is more subjective than that metric, but it still has advantages.
I think also to have more insights about how Rovo is being used, this will help us also to quantify who is using, and we can calculate more or less what is the cycle time.
And if you're using Rovo to process tickets, you can always put a tag in the ticket and Rovo put a automatically resolved by Rovo tag in the ticket, and you can monitor those very easily, and you can see what percentage of all tickets have been resolved by Rovo.
No human.
Any other questions? Yeah.
How are you handling governance for custom Rovo agents? There are no really tools out there available from Atlassian, only the groups, the access groups. How do you handle, like you mentioned champion groups, but anything else you do in your organizations for governance for custom Rovo agents?
Can you repeat the question? Because it's a little bit
Maybe a little bit louder, thank you.
Yes, custom Rovo agents. So in your organization, organization, somebody, a champion or somebody in your organization wants to create a custom Rovo agent, how can admins like put some governance into that?
Yeah. So there was a slide in the front that said Atlassian is not responsible for what we say in this panel. Yeah. There should be some.
Should I bring it back up?
Yeah. Maybe you should. There are some tools like who is allowed to create an agent in your system. Yeah. The other thing that has recently been launched that we've asked for the year that we've been using Rovo is now. Robo agents, there's this collaborators thing where the owner of the agent is not the only one who can see inside it. So you as the site admin can always look inside an agent and look at what's going on with it. And the thing that was announced today in the keynote, the thing that I really liked was the bit where you can look at what Robo is answering to this question and in real time actually tell Robo, no, you're wrong in this bit, fix it. So that is going to be very useful in making it better. But yeah, as a site admin, you absolutely should go in and look at the prompts and the scenarios that people have made for your agents.
Can you share some funny failures with using Rovo?
Fun failures.
This is always fun. This is not a Rovo failure. It can happen with Rovo, but on several occasions we have had not feature requests, but configuration change requests for people's projects for features that absolutely do not exist, but ChatGPT hallucinated them. So our customers come to us and say, hey, can you please enable this feature in my project? It would be really useful. And my response is, this feature does not exist, and let me explain to you how the Atlassian platform works and why it cannot possibly exist. And just because ChatGPT told you it does, makes no difference.
In my case, I was having a funny conversation with Rovo the other day. I wanted to know how many agents they will have, no? And obviously, as administrator, I can see all of them. There is a pagination, but you start scrolling down, and I was asking Rovo, how many agents do I have in my instance? And he never replied. He was responding different things, but never a number. And I was saying, give me the number. He was not able to provide this information. And they have it, but it didn't work.
This is something that, as Rovo gets more kind of visibility to Teamwork Graph and especially back-end admin features that I'm really looking forward to. One of the first things I ever asked Rovo was, tell me how many free licenses for Confluence I have in my system. And Rovo responded with, please go and talk to your organization admin, here's where they can look it up. But Captain, I am the administrator.
Yeah.
That's great. Anyone else?
Thank you all, that was great. I'm curious how you were talking a bit about experimentation and how that is really a great way to get your team on board and using these tools. And so I'm curious if you could share a little bit more about how you're encouraging your team to experiment with Rovo and see the value for themselves.
I can start and then I can see you ready to go as well. So yeah, we've started doing these what we call AI Insight sessions, which is we try to make them really accessible. So we do 20-minute sessions once a month, and people can throw in topics and things that they want to learn to do or want to be able to construct. And then in those sessions, we'll just go live and we'll let people ask the questions and let people, and then also encourage people to give examples themselves, so things where they've found things that they can use the tool for, which is where we got the first sort of 5-10 minute idea from, where people were very time efficient. Somebody said, actually, I've got a minute and 1 thing and today, give me 2 minutes, like 2 things I need to know out of this. So yeah, we found that session really useful for us, and it was coming from just getting everyone to, and we're trying to lower the barrier to sort of, little and often, make it very accessible, make it very low intensity with tech, and that's been successful.
So I talked earlier about broadcast and intercept. So broadcast has been very good, where when we have a good use case that we've built, we will go to our community channel that we have in Teams, Slack, you can do it, whatever, but just tell everybody actively, go in their face and say, hey, we built this cool thing, please come and look with us at how cool this thing is, and that will inspire them to say, ooh, I have an idea, can you build this for me as well? And the other thing is, because any kind of LLM connection request goes through us, we will say, let me build that in Rovo for you, and let me talk to you and ask you how you want your bot to work, and let's sit down and make it work together, and then you can keep developing it further because you have access to the back end of it.
All right, fantastic. Well, thank you all so much for being here. This was really enlightening for everyone, I hope, and thank you all for attending. And